Have you ever wondered why silence starts to feel more alive than people? Why the chaos you once chased now feels too loud, too sharp, too empty? There comes a point in every human life where the noise that once defined you suddenly stops making sense, and what you once called loneliness begins to sound like truth. You start noticing the spaces between conversations. You start feeling the weight of your own thoughts, not as burdens, but as signals. You stop running from yourself because deep down you realize you were never really afraid of being alone. You were afraid of meeting the parts of you that only show up in silence. That growing distance you feel between you and the world, it's not disconnection, it's alignment. You're not withdrawing because you're broken. You're withdrawing because you're finally tuning in. You see, the world teaches you to seek noise, attention, validation, belonging. It convinces you that silence is punishment, that stillness means something's wrong. But the truth is the opposite. Silence isn't emptiness. It's the space where everything real begins to form. Stop for a second. Ask yourself, when was the last time you truly sat with yourself without reaching for a screen, a voice, or a distraction? When was the last time you let silence speak before you filled it with noise? Because that's where it starts. The moment you stop escaping, the moment you face yourself without filters, without background music, without pretending to be fine, that's where your rebirth begins. So don't just listen to these words. Feel them. Let them pull you inward, because the only way out is in. Somewhere between the chaos of wanting and the calm of acceptance, you realize loneliness is not your enemy. It's your initiation. At first, it's painful. You'll feel like a stranger in your own skin. The places that once felt alive will suddenly feel hollow. People will talk, but their words won't land. Their laughter won't echo inside you the way it used to. Because you're not the same anymore. Your frequency has shifted. Carl Jung once said, "In the process of individuation, a person becomes who they truly are, separate from the collective noise." That's what solitude does. It separates you, not from people, but from illusions. You stop needing the crowd to validate your existence. You start choosing energy over attention, peace over excitement, and meaning over noise. And that's when the real transformation begins. Your soul starts to detox. You begin to see how much of your life was built around pleasing others, how much of your identity was borrowed, shaped by expectations, not truth. You start peeling back the layers of who you should be. And underneath all that noise, you find the quiet hum of who you are. But let's be honest, solitude isn't romantic at first. It's raw, it's restless. It's the kind of silence that makes you confront your demons, the old memories, the regrets, the noise you tried to bury under movement. You'll question everything. You'll crave connection and hate yourself for craving it. You'll think you're regressing, but you're not. You're recalibrating. The human spirit wasn't built to constantly perform. It was built to evolve, and evolution requires silence. A caterpillar doesn't talk its way into becoming a butterfly. It cocoons, it dissolves, it surrenders. And that's what solitude is, a cocoon for the soul. There's a quiet kind of power that forms when you stop needing to be understood. When you stop explaining yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you, you begin to glow differently. You speak less but say more. You walk slower but move deeper. And those who once drained your spirit will start to fade, not because you hate them, but because your peace no longer needs their chaos to feel alive. Then comes the still phase, the sacred middle. You wake up and everything feels muted. The world feels distant. The things that used to excite you don't anymore. This is the in-between, the part no one talks about, where you're no longer who you were, but not yet who you're becoming. It's uncomfortable, but it's holy. because it's in that space that your spirit rewires itself for peace. You'll notice your patterns shifting quietly. You'll sleep deeper. You'll eat slower. You'll stop forcing conversations that don't feel right. You'll start choosing solitude not as escape, but as oxygen, because peace starts to feel addictive once you've tasted it. And when people see this version of you, they might call it detachment. They'll say you've changed. They'll say you're colder, quieter, harder to reach. But they won't understand that it's not indifference, it's elevation. You're not rejecting connection. You're rejecting noise. You're not avoiding love. You're protecting your frequency. The irony of solitude is that it teaches you the deepest form of connection, with life itself. When you sit alone long enough, you start hearing the pulse of existence. The wind, the hum, your heartbeat. They all sync into one ancient rhythm. That's when you realize solitude was never about being alone. It was about returning to the original conversation, the one between your soul and the universe. Slowly, you'll stop chasing purpose. Purpose will start flowing through you. You'll stop chasing people. The right ones will find you, calm, grounded, unshakable. You'll stop fearing silence, because you'll understand that silence doesn't mean nothing is happening. It means everything is happening, just beneath the surface. When solitude becomes sacred, you stop craving noise, not because you're numb, but because you've healed. You no longer want to be seen everywhere. You want to be real somewhere. You stop performing peace and start embodying it. And that's when life begins to mirror your calm. Opportunities align quietly. People who carry the same stillness appear effortlessly. You stop fighting the current and start moving with it. That's what power really is. Not control, but surrender. Not dominance, but presence. If you're listening to this right now and you feel disconnected, if you're tired of explaining your silence to people who never listen, this is your sign. You're not fading. You're becoming. The world glorifies noise because it fears what silence reveals. But those who dare to walk alone always return with clarity. The desert you walk through today becomes the garden you rest in tomorrow. The loneliness that aches now becomes the wisdom that saves you later. So breathe. You're not behind, you're not broken. You're just aligning with a quieter truth, one that doesn't need to be loud to be powerful. And when people ask what changed, you'll smile, not out of arrogance, but understanding. Because you'll know, you didn't lose yourself. You found the part of you that no one else could give. That's what happens when solitude becomes sacred. You stop waiting for the world to recognize your worth, because you already did. And maybe that's the secret the universe always tried to whisper. That peace was never out there. It was always waiting, in the sound of your own stillness.